Wow, wow, wow. Whew, man, was that a ride. We're talking about Berserk, Golden Age arc. Let's get into it. So I just got finished reading the Golden Age arc from Berserk. I think it covered the first 4 volumes of the deluxe edition, which is what I was reading from, and then probably maybe like 150 pages into the 5th volume. So a majority of the deluxe volume is the Golden Age arc, and wow, was did I, man, I'm just speechless. I don't even know what to say. It was just the arc started off, it seemed pretty normal for like a normal fantasy sort of story. I haven't read much fantasy manga. I'd say this is probably the most fantastical fantasy, setting based manga that I've read. But in terms of just fantasy stories in general, I thought it started, pretty standard, like a lot of fantasy stories. But man, once Guts gets into the Band of the Hawk, it's just full steam ahead, and it doesn't let up one bit. I think it was, it was into the 2nd volume that's when Guts joins the Band of the Hawk. And man, as you can see, my mind's just still all over the place from reading that. I just finished it probably a couple hours ago. I was wanting to let my mind rest so I could gather some thoughts so I could make a video, but it doesn't seem to have worked. My mind's still racing from all the different emotions that went through my body as I read that. I guess I should preface this reaction and review of Berserk by sort of giving you a background on how I started with the series. So when I was initially starting my foray into the Berserk world, I had started with the anime. I think it's just because for most things that, in terms of manga and anime, if there's an anime adaptation of a manga, I just find that I usually start with the anime because it's usually just less time consuming for me. It's sometimes hard for me to find a time to sit down and actually, read good portions of a manga, because I don't really like to sit down and like read one chapter of a manga and then put it down. I'd rather, sit down for like an hour or two and, get through like, 10 chapters or whatever. But after watching the first episode of the 97 anime, I just felt like there was something missing, and I had already had the first deluxe volume of the Berserk manga, so I decided, I'll put the anime on hold, and I'll start reading just the Berserk manga. And I feel like another reason why I did that as well is because anybody who's looked up, how to watch the Berserk anime, or what order you should view the different Berserk animes in, you find on most forums and Reddit and whatnot that people say to, skip the first episode of the 97 anime and just go from the 2nd episode on, because that's the 2nd episode is where the Golden Age arc starts, and then through the end, that's where it ends. Through the end of the anime, that's where the Golden Age arc ends. But then I was also reading, people. I was seeing if there was a similar sort of reading pattern with the manga in terms of skipping the first volume or whatnot. And I mean, I should have known that wasn't the case. And sure enough, as soon as I started researching that, everyone was saying no. Like, if you're reading the manga, start with volume 1. Obviously, that's where Miura intended for you to start, and so he intended for you to know that Guts has some sort of huge problem with Griffith, and you don't really know what it is. You're introduced to the God Hand, and all these crazy things. I remember just going through the when Guts first goes into the Bielet, and you have all these MC Escher-esque paintings. I just thought that was incredibly cool and unique. I hadn't seen that in a manga before. Or actually, no. I guess Demon Slayer had a portion in it where it was sort of MC Escher-like. But you can definitely see that Berserk, or I should say Kentaro Miura, was definitely inspired by MC Escher with a lot of the sort of, imagery and scenes that happen when you're in the presence of the God Hand. So yeah, I decided to pick up the manga instead of watching the anime, and boy, I feel like I made the right decision, because as soon as I was like 2 or 3 chapters into the first volume, I immediately knew that the manga was just the much better adaptation. So I decided to stop watching the anime and instead just read through the manga, and then I'd watch the anime episodes as I pass through them in the actual manga chapters. And I feel like I just made the right decision. If anyone's going to pick up Berserk for the first time, I'd highly recommend picking up the manga instead of watching the anime first. I just feel the panels, the drawings, everything in the manga is just so much better than any of the Berserk adaptations to this date. Hopefully we'll eventually get a Berserk adaptation that's actually pretty decent. Not sure how likely that is, but that's besides the point. And so by the end of the first deluxe volume, you end the Black Swordsman arc, and we begin, as many people consider it, the greatest manga story arc ever, I guess. The Golden Age arc. And man, that was just... that was amazing. I'm not sure if I've ever really gone through as many emotions as I did from reading the beginning of the Golden Age arc, all the way up through Guts, tagging along with Gambino and his mercenaries, his young life, then killing Gambino and meeting up with Griffith and the Band of the Hawks, and all the sort of adventures and escapades they go on, the fighting in the 100 Years War, just so much happens in the Golden Age arc. You have the battle with Zod, which is just amazing. The battle with Wayland. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce his name. Wayland. That dude was freaking crazy. That whole, I can't remember. I think they were the Black Dogs, something like that. But man, they were terrifying, and I was just happy to see when Guts and them were finally able to beat them. But and then moving on from that, just into the, oh man, probably the most depressing, exhilarating, just holy shit moments that I may have read in any manga, with Guts and Casca and the whole Band of the Hawk rescuing Griffith, and the whole eclipse, and oh man, everything that happens after the eclipse, Griffith being reborn, and oh man, those last few, or not few, it was actually quite a bit of chapters of the entire eclipse. I couldn't put it down. I think it was in volume 4. I started it one day in the morning, and 3 hours later, I was already read through the entire deluxe edition. And, they're not small books. They're like, 600-700 pages. So, they're not like super long. But it takes a decent amount of time. But man, from volume 4, or not even volume 4, probably even before that, towards the end of volume 3, all through volume 4, and then the beginning part of volume 5, I just sped through that. Oh man, I had to get through all that in probably like a day. I just couldn't put it down. It was just so good. I watched some of the anime episodes afterwards for different scenes. Obviously, I watched the anime episodes that covered the eclipse and whatnot, and after reading through the entire Golden Age arc, I'm really glad I decided to stop watching the anime and instead read through the manga to get my first experience, because man, there's just so much they leave out of the anime. They leave out, I'm pretty sure that whole Wayland section and that whole battle. They leave out the Skull Knight. I couldn't believe they left out the Skull Knight. That was probably one of my I guess most intriguing characters. We don't know much about him after the Golden Age arc, but he was such a badass. How he just flies into the eclipse, breaks that, breaks the moon open, comes into their, I guess it's like a pocket dimension or something, and just, fucking saves Guts. And man, that I remember reading through that, those few pages, and I remember first thinking that when the moon first started to shatter, that it was because of Guts' yelling, and his rage at Griffith. And then you just turn the page and you see the whole moon break and the Skull Knight just charges through. And man, that was probably one of the most hype moments in that entire arc. I remember reading that, jumping up and down. Like, it was just, oh man, it was just so amazing. And I can't believe that the anime left that character out. The 97 anime, that is. I went back and watched some of the Golden Age arc movies that they made, the 3-part movie series, and in that they have the Skull Knight, so that was cool. I guess I could get into some of the characters, some of my favorites and whatnot. Obviously Guts, obviously his favorite main character. I didn't like him, and I feel like a lot of people are like this, at least from what I've read. In the first few chapters in the Black Swordsman arc, I found him to be, a little annoying. He, was just really gruff and, just standoffish and sort of like a brute. But, man, as soon as you get into the Golden Age arc and you just learn all the backstory that Guts has and everything that he's went through from, being born out of his dying mother's womb as she's hung and just laying in the mud and guts and blood of her. Oh man, that was just horrible. And his time with Gambino and being raped by, I think his name was Donovan, one of Gambino's men, which sets up, for the whole rest of the show how you see Guts' aversion to people touching him, where just makes total sense why he's like that in the early chapters of the first volume, and then obviously killing Gambino and then leaving his group and going off on his own, and finally sort of meeting up with the Band of the Hawk and sort of finding a new place, a new sort of, I guess, life for himself, because before that, he's just going around wanting to just fight and kill as many people as he can. That's all he's known, all he's been trained to do, and he's never really had a place that has really felt like home to him. And seeing him meet up with the Band of the Hawk and developing all the different relationships with Casca, Griffith, Judea, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce his name, Pippin, Ricket, man, yeah, it's just watching them bond and become a sort of family. It was just amazing to watch. But probably one of my favorite aspects of the Golden Age arc definitely has to be the relationship between Guts and Casca, which, man, that's just where I am at right now in the manga. It's just so sad after the eclipse, and due to all the trauma that Casca suffered in the eclipse, mostly by the hands of Griffith. Her just losing her mind and not being able to recognize Guts or anybody. It was just, oh man, it was just terrible to read, because I remember when you're about halfway through the 3rd volume or the 4th volume, that's when Guts and Casca really start to sort of admire each other and grow a lot more fond of each other. And that's just such happy moments in the Golden Age arc, only for the entire end of it to come all crashing down. And oh man, it's just, you go from such highs to incredibly low lows, and it's just amazing that this one single arc was able to accomplish that. And then obviously there's tons of questions that I had that hopefully will be answered, obviously, as we read more. Obviously Griffith becomes Femto, I think that's how you pronounce it. The fifth member of the God Hand. I'm not too sure yet if there's like a hierarchy among the God Hand. I mean, it seems like from the Black Swordsman arc in the beginning, it seems like when Guts meets with Griffith and the other 4 members, it seems like Griffith is the leader, but I mean, obviously he's the last one to become part of the God Hand, so that's a little odd. Because my first guess would be that the leader is the guy, the big brain guy. I think his name's Void. He seemed to have been sort of, I guess, the leader, you could say, of the 4 members before Griffith became a part of them. And I guess it happens every, I think it was like 216 years or something, the eclipse happens, and they gain a new member of the God Hand, and that's what Griffith was. So I'm not sure if in the Berserk manga we'll ever get to the next eclipse. Like, is that something we're going to see? Is there going to be another eclipse? Are there only ever 5 members? Or since Griffith is now the God Hand, do the members start going away every 216 years or whatever? Like, the next 216 years they'll lose a member, and then they'll, continue until they're down to 0, and they'll, start over again and create a new God Hand? I'm not sure yet. I don't think we'll get that far into the manga. I can't imagine the manga doing like a 200-year time skip. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my guess. I'm also curious about the Beoliths. Obviously, we have one in the Black Swordsman arc, which Guts uses to, get in contact with the God Hand. And then obviously Griffith has one, but I'm wondering if these Beoliths are just randomly placed throughout the Berserk world, or are they sent down from, the God Hand or the Pocket Dimension or whatever, their spaces, wherever they live. Do they send the Beoliths down to the actual world periodically whenever they want to sort of, I don't know if test man is the right word, but, send down Beoliths to sort of entice man into sort of accessing their realm and becoming more demons? Or are these Beoliths all sort of artifacts that have been in the Berserk world for, hundreds of years, and, people just stumble across them and they gain access to this, sort of demon world? I'm not too sure yet. I'm hoping we'll get some more information on those creepy things, those Beoliths, but definitely a cool feature of the story. I really like the design of them, and how during the Golden Age arc, Griffith is just carrying his red one around, and how that ends up saving him and Guts from Zod, and yeah, just really interesting artifacts. But man, was that ending of the Golden Age arc just it was just something else. And I'm going to be moving on to the next arc here later today. I think I'll probably make a video about the Conviction arc. Seeing as how much I love the Golden Age arc, I was reading online about the different story arcs in Berserk. I like to do this with different manga and anime. I like to look up the titles of the different story arcs, just to sort of give me a little hint, or a little teaser of what's going to be coming, what's to come. And I remember when I was looking up the Berserk stuff, a lot of people I saw saying that the Conviction arc, which is the next one, is actually their second favorite arc, because I think it's pretty widely regarded that most people find the Golden Age arc to be their favorite. I mean, I've only read 2 arcs so far, so I can't say yet. I can say out of the Black Swordsman and Golden Age arc, I definitely think the Golden Age arc is better. That's not to say the Black Swordsman arc is bad. It's definitely not. But, man, just everything that happens in the Golden Age arc, it's just, man, it's hard to compete with it. But, I'm going to be going into the next arc, and hopefully it's going to be, going to be just as good. I'm excited to see where Guts and Casca go. Hopefully, it seems like I don't want to say it, but it seems like maybe we're going to be getting a lot of, Guts on his own and not sort of with Casca, which, is really sad. I love seeing their relationship develop in the Golden Age arc. But with everything that happened in the Eclipse now and Casca losing her mind and not remembering anything, I think his Guts is going to go off on his own, and I don't know if he's going to try to save Casca in terms of like trying to save her mind, or if he's just going to be going out on a revenge mission for Griffith. Probably both, I would assume. But yeah, I can't wait to see where Guts and the whole crew end up. Even though their crew is a lot smaller now, I think it's just Guts, Casca, Rickert, and then that. The old blacksmith and his daughter that I believe that's where Guts and Casca and them are staying at right now. But yeah, man, wow, that was definitely a ride, and I'm not sure if I've ever read a manga. I can't remember it or think of it where I just flew through the last, like halfway through the Golden Age arc all the way to the end. I just flew through the chapters because I just couldn't put it down. It was just so intriguing. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know this was sort of all over the place. I didn't have anything written down. I was just, sort of shooting from the hip on just, different thoughts and emotions that were going around my mind after finishing the Golden Age arc. But if you like this video, I'd appreciate if you give me a like. I'll probably be making more videos in the future on Berserk because I can't imagine that it's going to get the story quality is going to drop too much. So I think that I'll probably find some time to make some videos, maybe some reactions or reviews, going forward on the future arc. Well, that just about wraps up everything that I had to say on my sort of initial reaction and review of the first two story arcs from Berserk, mostly, about the Golden Age arc, but I hope you enjoyed the video. This has been The Blind Koala, and until next time, see you later.